Good evening. Today is Thursday, July 15th, 2021. I now call this regular Board of Education meeting to order. Mrs. Lane, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Begley?
Here.
Mr. Birding?
Present.
Mr. Clark? Mrs. Gundrum?
Here.
Mrs. Shorter?
Okay, would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, before we move into the agenda, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to add an item for board discussion, possible meeting conflicts or change for the August 5th work session. And also, I'd like to amend the agenda to possibly add board action if we can agree on that. Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? Okay, Mrs. Lane, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Birding?
Yes.
Mr. Begley?
Yes.
Mrs. Gundrum?
Yes.
We have nobody signed up for communication this evening, so we'll move right into superintendent's recommendations and reports. Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Birding. At this time, I would like to ask Mr. Martin to cover the items listed under personnel professional.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Birding and members of the board, we have quite a few items tonight under personnel professional. Item number 1, resignations, letters A through F. Item 2, unpaid leave of absence, letter A. Item 3, employment, letters A through M. I do want to point out there that we are hiring 2 administrators in this group. Item H is Kathleen Motzinger, who is going to become the assistant principal at Creekside. She previously taught math and science at Creekside for us. And then letter M is Roxana Wyatt, who is going to be the assistant principal at West, and she has previously taught grade 1 at South Forest. Both of these are exceptional teachers and ready to go into the administrative field, so we welcome them. Item N is extracurriculars for the 21-22 school year, and there are 6 pages of those. Item O is credit recovery and/or credit flexibility instructors for 21-22. Item P is EL tutors for 21-22. And finally, letter Q is home instructor for 21-22. That completes the items I have for you tonight under personnel professional.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. This time, I'll entertain a motion to accept those recommendations.
So moved.
Second.
Here, Mrs. Gundrum and Mr. Begley, any questions or comments? Okay, Mrs. Lane, will you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Gundrum?
Yes.
Mr. Begley?
Yes.
Mr. Birding?
Yes, motion passes.
This time, I would like to ask Mr. Perry to cover the items listed under personnel support.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Burden, members of the board, I have for your consideration the following items. The first item, resignations, A through E. Number 2, employment, A through D.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Perry. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve those recommendations.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Begley and Mrs. Gundrum, any questions or comments? Okay, Mrs. Lane, will you call the roll?
Mr. Begley?
Yes.
Mrs. Gundrum?
Yes.
Mr. Birding?
Yes, motion passes.